We're gonna get going. We are very excited today. By the way, my name is Amy Wolf. I'm the programming coordinator for the Osterville Village Library. Thank you so much for joining us today, and to our friends on Zoom, thank you so much for having us as well. Today we are excited to have Anke Rudy, the vegetator, back with us today. That is a term that we have coined, get vegetated. She's been doing a Power of Plants series with us, and we are hoping that we can continue it through the summer months. Today's exciting talk is your plant-based summer. And she has it written down here, summer food incorporating more plant-based options for the barbecue. So without further ado, here is Anke Rudy.
Everybody, how many of you have been to one of these talks before? Okay, so a few people first time here. Okay, so just to give me an idea of why you're here or what you're interested in learning about and why. So are you already plant-based? Are you just interested? Or what's kind of the general mood?
We're plant-based.
Oh, you are already, yeah.
But my Weber grill has kind of been sitting unused.
Oh, okay.
Be switched.
Yeah, interesting. So similar thing happened in our household as well. So, you know, of course, when we think of barbecue, we think of, you know, burgers and ribs and meat and whole fish, you know, maybe some seafood. So, you know, if you've been coming to some of these talks, what I kind of try to talk about is just encouraging people to eat more and more plants. So I have been actually fully plant-based for 4 years, but you don't have to do it 100%. You can transition, you can just, you know, introduce more plant-based options. And a lot of these things are things that you're already eating, like corn and potatoes. Those are whole plant foods, you know, so it's not some weird voodoo magic way of preparing things. It's really just eating more vegetables and more grains and more whole food. So it's quite basic, really. It's just trying to cut out processed foods and adding more plants and fiber into our diets. And what I like to do before I start these talks is just remind people that when we talk about whole food plant-based foods, we are talking about the nat foods in their natural form. I mean, they don't have to be raw. You can cook them, steam them, grill them, but unprocessed foods, because the trend at the moment, you'll see a lot of processed foods that are touted as being plant-based, but they're not necessarily healthy because they'll have all sorts of weird isolates like soy, you know, GMO soy and lots of sodium and lots of weird preservatives and chemicals and additives. So they're not necessarily going to be healthy, like the fake meats, the impossible burgers. If you look at the ingredient label, there are a lot of things in there that are not good for your human health. So we're trying to add lots of plants, lots of fiber, because fiber is really what is going to improve your gut health. And, you know, I don't know if any of you have read latest research. There's a lot of great research about how important your gut biome is. And the gut feeds on fiber. That is what makes your gut happy, is fiber, fiber, fiber. And you can only get fiber from plants. Animals do not contain fiber. They contain fats and, you know, heme iron and all those things, which I'm not going to go into a lot of the science today. If you're interested in the science, because there is a lot of science and research, I really recommend a couple of books. This is my favorite. This was the book I read first when I first got into plant-based eating. This is called How Not to Die by Dr. Greger. This is amazing. It's the first half of the book talks about every different chronic disease, many of which are preventable through diet and nutrition. And then the second half of the book goes through all the nutrients and why we should all be eating more cruciferous vegetables and mushrooms and grains and beets and all those good things, and spices and herbs to give good flavor. And then this goes into the science quite deeply. This is called the China Study by Colin Campbell. And this really makes the case for cutting out dairy and animal foods, and how his studies about the tumor promoting properties of casein, which is the protein in dairy. So this will put you off cheese and milk and dairy. So those are some of the books. And then there's also the website that Dr. Greger started, which is called nutritionfacts.org, which has all the latest research about everything you could possibly want to know about disease, disease prevention, different foods, you know, coffee, flaxseed, everything. I mean, this is an amazing website, nutritionfacts.org. It's completely non-profit. He's not pushing any product. It's all just about latest scientific research. So those are the books to read, and then there are also some great documentaries, and I'll talk about those at the end. So let's get started on the food, which is what it's really all about. So, okay, why does this always happen? Every time I'm pressing the arrows, it's me and technology. Oh, the cursor has to be in the document. That's fine. Is it working now? And now it's just going crazy. This one, okay, thank you, Amy. Okay, so I imagine that many of you are going to be invited to some summer barbecues, summer events, or that you are going to be doing some entertaining of your own at home over the Cape, over the beautiful summer here on the Cape. How many people are having guests and doing cooking and entertaining? I imagine a lot of you. So this is, by the way, the only slide with writing on it. Everything else is just pictures of food, and I'm just going to talk you through all the different beautiful, huge variety of plants you can eat over the summer. So the obvious one for the summer is salads. And, you know, people roll their eyes and they say, oh, all you can eat when you're vegan or whole food plant-based is salads. Not true. And also the kinds of salads that I eat are not your average, you know, side salad at the 99. It's not just romaine and lettuce and tomato. You can put all kinds of great stuff on your salad. So we'll go into that. Dips and salsas are another great way to incorporate plants like hummus, and of course, you know, there are the sour cream dips. We're not talking about those. So all kinds of other dips which do not include dairy. Salsas are another great one. They do involve a lot of chopping, but you know, when you eat this way, you kind of, that's part of the course. There's going to be a lot of chopping of vegetables and onions and fruit and vegetables. Pizza, I mean, as long as you're not putting, you know, tons of mozzarella, you can make beautiful vegetarian pizzas. If you like, you can use the vegan cheese, but not necessary. You can use cauliflower crust, you can use whole wheat crust. Veggie burgers are a really popular one, and you can make these yourself. You don't have to buy the Impossible burgers, which, as I already mentioned, are full of additives that are not good for you, but you can make veggie burgers. My favorite is just grilling vegetables. So instead of putting meat on your barbecue, you can just slice up, you know, eggplant, zucchini, peppers, onions. You can get one of those little baskets. So just grilling vegetables, corn, you know, you can put baked potatoes on the grill, all kinds of vegetables. Corn and beans are another great one. Sandwiches and bowls, and don't forget all the sides like quinoa salads and couscous with grilled vegetables, and all kinds of rice with, you know, beans and vegetables added. And then also dessert. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these options. So I want to draw your attention to this wonderful website. So Forks Over Knives. Has anyone seen the documentary? Okay, so the documentary came out a long time ago, and it's since sort of become like the gold standard of whole food plant-based eating. They have books. Their website is a phenomenal resource. So the website, Forks Over Knives, has thousands of amazing recipes. I was just looking through it the other day to put these slides together. And I mean, you just type in anything you want to make, whether it's pasta, a salad, a very specific ingredient, and hundreds of recipes pop up, and they are all completely whole food plant-based, without oil, without salt, without sugar. That's what we strive for, is kind of cutting out all of those, but amazing recipes, very easy, and yeah, just very inspiring. I mean, look at that, like peaches and tomatoes and red onions and some beautiful dressing. So I just put this whole screenshot there so you could see they have guides, they have meal plans, there are cooking courses, there's a meal planner. You can also look up all sorts of articles. I mean, it's just a really fantastic website. And then again, yeah, they have recipe books, and the documentary is great if you haven't seen it. It's a little old, it's slightly dated, the statistics, but the science is all still true. Okay, so here's some of my salads that I make at home. So I try to eat a big salad every day, one of my meals. And I love arugula and kale, those are my favorites. But any leafy greens, I mean, there are so many different leafy greens, so you can just mix it up. And the really important thing in this way of eating is variety. And, you know, somewhere I read, you know, it's good to get 30 different plants over the course of a week. I think I eat 30 different plants in 2 days, because if you count all the seeds and grains and nuts and spices, those all count. So that all contributes to this huge variety. And people say, oh, but don't you get bored of eating salad or eating this and that? Well, no, because it's different every day. I mean, I eat much bigger variety than I ever used to. So here on the left, I think it's kale and spinach. I've got cucumbers, peppers, cherry tomatoes, red onions. That's like pickled red cabbage, which I get at Whole Foods. It's amazing. And I use a lot of lime juice and balsamic vinegar, so I've tried to cut out oil, and that's kind of a separate discussion. I mean, the reason whole food plant-based cuts out oil, even olive oil, is because it is not considered a whole food. It's basically just the fat squeezed out of the vegetable or the nut. And so it's very high caloric density. So it's better to eat a whole olive or a whole sesame seed or a whole walnut than just the oil squeeze out of it. I mean, it's very, very calorific, but it's also the oil, it's sludges the blood. So the same way it kind of sticks to your pan, that's what it's doing to your arteries as well. So once you start cooking without oil, I just don't know if I could never go back to it, because now I steam things and I just cook things in vegetable stock and it works just fine. I throw things on the grill without oil. There's less smoke, and it just tastes better to me now without the oil. So it's just kind of a habit. A lot of these things I kind of did gradually, you know, I started going vegan, then I kind of started cutting out the processed foods, and then I cut out the oil. So it was kind of a journey, you know, as they say. And then here on the right, this is I think kale again, but here I have spring onions. And I sliced up some apples and beets. This is actually inspired by the salad at Pizza Barbone on Main Street. If anyone's had their beet salad, it is delicious. And they throw on some hazelnuts, and I think I ended up throwing on some walnuts. So I always improvise. I look at whatever I have at home, and I always try and throw on my healthy fat, like some nuts or seeds, just to kind of, I look at my plate and I think, oh, what else could I throw on here? So I always throw onions and nuts, and there's some fennel in here as well, some raw fennel, which is another great one on the grill. Roast fennel, if you haven't had it, it's delicious. It's got that kind of aniseed flavor to it. They have it at Trader Joe's. It's expensive at Stop and Shop, but if you go to Trader Joe's, you can buy a little 2-pack of fennel. And it's a great vegetable. You just slice it up and it has this beautiful, I don't know, it looks a bit like an onion, but it's much crunch, I don't know, it's just delicious. It's the aniseed flavor, and it's really delicious roasted, but I like it raw in a salad. And there are, by the way, if you go to Forks Over Knives, or even if you just Google, you know, vegan salad dressings or oil-free salad dressings, you'll get lots of ideas with lime juice, tahini, maple syrup, garlic. There's lots of great ways to dress a salad without oil, but that's you know, that's further down the road, but it is doable. So this is a chickpea salad with lots of parsley, an onion and olives. I think this is actually a Greek chickpea salad, and I think I added a little bit of vegan feta cheese. Which, by the way, the Trader Joe's one is great. But again, I don't eat that every day, but just for like an event or a party or something, I'll throw in some vegan feta cheese. And then on the left, that is some sweet potato on my salad. So my salads are very hearty. It's never just leaves, you know, and a bit of dressing. It's always kind of some great protein. So that's another one of the concerns people go plant-based, is where do you get your protein? And first of all, it's a myth that we need as much protein as we think we do. You only need to get 10 to 20% of your daily calories from protein, and it doesn't have to come from animals. In fact, plant protein is better for you, much better for you on so many levels than animal protein. It doesn't have the cholesterol, and it's got tons of fiber. So it's better for you all around. So I'm getting my protein from legumes, from chickpeas, edamame, and from nuts and seeds. And also, you know, even vegetables have protein, like broccoli has protein, spinach has protein. You're getting plenty of protein if you're eating enough calories a day, and even on a plant-based diet. Don't worry about the protein. Okay, so this is another salad from Forks Over Knives, which looks amazing. Pumpkin seeds. I mean, seeds and nuts have got all kinds of great nutrients and minerals. You just don't want to overdo it, because they do have fat content as well if you're watching your weight. Pomegranate seeds, tons of antioxidants and vitamins and minerals here. Citrus, always add a little squeeze of citrus when you're eating your salad because it helps with absorption of minerals. I mean, I like lime juice anyway, I'm doing it for flavor, but it actually there's a good reason to add just a squeeze of lemon or lime to your salad, just helps with absorption of minerals. So these are more of my salads. So, you know, carrot, apple, you can throw berries on there. I make a peanut dressing. There's some red cabbage in that one, peanut dressing with soy sauce and sesame seeds and date syrup and garlic. So, you know, you can just experiment. It depends really what you like to eat, but it's very easy to get tons of nutrients just in a salad. You know, salad in a restaurant. I mean, you could go place and get salad, but very easy to make a great salad at home. You just have to have the ingredients in your fridge and in your pantry. This is Dawn. Dawn and I like this place in Falmouth called Devour. This is an amazing, that's tofu. And a ginger carrot dressing also, I don't know, that little dressing, it's absolutely delicious. That's from Devour in Falmouth. And this on the right is at a Lebanese restaurant where my daughter goes to college in Montreal. I always go to this place. And it's falafel and hummus and farro and rice and lentils and pickles and chickpeas. I mean, it's just amazing. So, you know, this is just to show you that even when you go out to eat, there are places where you can go for a healthy option. And it's not just lettuce and cucumber. That's a kale salad. This was inspired by the cranberry salad, a cafe chew, cranberries, and I think there's Brussels sprouts in there. And I use lots of spices for flavor. So sumac, has anyone heard of sumac? It's a Lebanese spice. It's kind of a little tangy. It's like a dark red spice. I put garlic in a lot of my salad dressings, onions, all so good for you. And then this is something my daughter made this week. It's called like a fake tuna salad. It's with chickpeas, and she put in some pickles and lots of fresh dill and red onion. And we just made lettuce wraps. And that was very satisfying, and it's filling because, you know, these legumes have a lot of protein. So this is actually a really satisfying, healthy, beautiful meal. I think I had some extra as a dip with some crackers. Trader Joe's have these great seed crackers. They're gluten-free, oil-free, and they're delicious. Okay, the more salads. I think you get the idea. But yeah, so roasted vegetables, I put roasted veggies on my salads. I always have a base, you know, like a kale, spinach, arugula base, and then I throw different stuff on it every day. So it never gets boring. You can throw leftovers from the day before if it's chickpeas or roasted veggies. And then I saw this at Whole Foods a few months ago. It actually says when your favorite veggie is all of them. And it's just a huge sandwich stacked with vegetables. And I just thought that was great. And this looks like a kind of a pesto. Really easy to make vegan pesto. There's a great recipe in Forks Over Knives website. It's instead of Parmesan, you use cashews and you throw in some nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast, is everyone familiar with nutritional yeast? It's kind of like a flaky yellow substance. It's yeast, but it contains B12, which is one of the things that everyone should be supplementing because it's not in food anymore these days. So nutritional yeast is a great source of B12, and it also gives food a little bit of a cheesy flavor. So I throw that into my pesto with cashews and, you know, lemon juice and tons of herbs and garlic, and it's very easy to make at home. More nuts, more apples, more cabbage. Okay, so dips. So the classic one is hummus. But if you just Google, you know, vegan dips, you'll see thousands coming up. There's eggplant dips, like a baba ganoush. Mediterranean and Middle Eastern cooking have a lot of great vegetarian dips. You can make a beet hummus. So there's so many great options, and you can make a nice vegetable platter and make 2 or 3 different dips, and that's always a crowd pleaser. I think those crackers look very similar to the Trader Joe's ones that I was talking about. They come in a kind of a turquoise box. They're quite new, I think. It's in the aisle with the little Japanese soy crackers and across from the soaps. Anyway, you'll find it. It's a very visible box.
The rice crackers.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's in the same section as those crackers. think it's like the last aisle before you get to the wine. Anyway, so a vegetable platter is always a great idea. This is a baba ganoush, oil-free, so this is from the Forks Over Knives website. I personally love eggplant. I think it's got delicious, this has a really good smoky flavor to it. The salsa is another great one. Guacamole, obviously, well known, easy to make, you know, vegan, you just don't add sour cream. Or you can use a plant-based yogurt if you want to make it a little creamy, but generally avocado is kind of rich and creamy enough on its own. You know, tomatoes, mango salsa is my favorite. And this is another great thing to bring to a party, or, you know, bring some chips, salsa, everyone loves those. Black bean salsa. So I was just telling Amy, I'm having some friends over tonight and I'm doing a taco bar. And I mean, I did buy some like fake beef crumbles, but I also got some chicken for the people who like chicken. But, you know, everything else is completely vegan. So I'm doing rice with some lime rind and cilantro. I've got a huge pot of beans ready to go, like black beans with liquid smoke and Dijon mustard. And I talked about those in another talk. I think I bought some last time. Rice, beans, lots of veggies, salsa. Anyway, so your usual kind of taco fillings, but everyone can sort of take what they want and make it their own. But that's a great one for plant-based as well. Okay, so pizza. Vegan options for pizza, just, you know, you could buy vegan mozzarella or cheese if you want to have vegan cheese, but I think the one on the left looks like it's just vegetables. Or maybe you could put something like a dip, you know, instead of cheese. So there's a lot of ways to experiment with plant-based pizzas and just adding more vegetables on your pizza, and it's just a good vehicle. Veggie burgers are easy to make at home. You can use beans, you can use chickpeas, you can use like zucchini. Again, there are just thousands and thousands of recipes online. You can use a whole wheat bun, you can stuff it full of salad and tomatoes. So, you know, if you're transitioning, if you really love meat, there's nothing wrong with having the occasional Impossible burger. And, you know, if you're going to a barbecue and someone has, like this happens to me, like people know that I'm plant-based, so they'll buy Impossible burgers. I'll eat one, you know, because I don't want to be rude, but it's not what I would personally choose, what I would eat at home. I would make one of these. But I mean, if you're transitioning and you're trying to kind of just cut back on meat, there's nothing wrong with eating the occasional fake meat burger. But you know, over time, you know, your taste changes and you might actually find that these taste better to you. Tuscan white bean burgers. And it's just, you know, it's just something to try. Okay, so grilled vegetables is my favorite summer food. And I make a couscous dish. I just, you know, veggie stock, couscous, it just fluffs up in 5 minutes. And then these are vegetables that were grilled without oil. And there's some fresh basil on there. And I make a harissa dressing with tomato paste, lime juice, cumin, and chili. And I just put that over the veggies. And again, you can add some fake feta or whatever you like, but this, to me, I could eat this 5 days a week. I just never get bored of it. And you can roast any vegetables you like, fennel, onions, zucchini, broccoli, whatever. And that's really easy. You can either grill them in the oven or you can put them on the grill in like a little basket. Actually, the bigger pieces you can just lay right on the grill like chicken.
You're not finding it sticking, Anke?
It doesn't. I don't know. I think I might have brushed them with some vegetable stock or something.
Okay, yeah, to make it more liquid.
Yeah. And you know, when I cook, one of my favorite things to cook is like a mushroom stroganoff, and I just put the garlic and the onions in the pan and the mushrooms, and they kind of create their own moisture. And then I throw in a little bit of veggie stock, and then I make the sauce, you know. So, no, it's not as crazy as you think to cook without oil. I know it seems, because we're all so used to doing it, but it was not a big adjustment for me at all. So these look really good. I'm gonna make these soon. Spicy jerk mushrooms with mango salsa. That just to me looks so delicious. And mushrooms are so good. Does everyone here like mushrooms? Some people hate mushrooms. So they're basic, because they're fungi, whatever you want to call them. They're kind of in their own little category. Somewhere between kind of plant and like a living, like a live living animal organism. But they are so good for you, and they are shown to be like cancer fighting and so beneficial to health. So I happen to love mushrooms. So these look really good to me. My daughter said that this looked kind of autumnal, but I guess lentils and carrots, but I make a lentil salad, so I just cook lentils. And then I chop lots of celery and red onion and parsley, tomatoes, whatever you have in the fridge, and lots of apple cider vinegar. I love lentils with vinegar because that's how my mom used to make lentil soup, with lots of vinegar. And I think lentils and carrots go really well together. So again, you could throw this over a bed of spinach or arugula or kale and eat lentils cold, with some grilled carrots. I mean, that is a very, very nutritious and wonderful meal, if you ask me. Oh, look at, so my friend Alyssa is married to a Lebanese gentleman, and so she always makes amazing food, and pomegranates are very popular in the Middle East. And I would never have thought to put pomegranates on eggplant, but it was delicious, and then some basil on the top as well. So that is simple but delicious, and it's hard to find pomegranates at the moment in season. You can find pomegranate seeds in the freezer aisle. I have found them there before. But here we normally get them kind of around Thanksgiving and Christmas. But pomegranates are just packed with antioxidants. The seeds are so good for you. And this is not quite as pretty, but this was one of my dinners recently. This is just a sweet potato with some black beans, guacamole, pickled cabbage, and grilled broccoli and arugula. And that is a really filling meal, and that's packed with goodness. So the skin, sweet potato skin has a lot of the nutrients are in the skin. So I always scrub those, and I eat the skin, I eat the whole thing, I eat everything on my plate. And it's very, very, very filling. All oil-free, and actually there's a little bit of almond yogurt in the corner there. And that's good for the prebiotics and the probiotics, but also in the pickled, any fermented foods, very, very good for your gut because they have those probiotics. So sauerkraut, pickled cabbage, all of those foods. But plant yogurt is.
Did you say that the pickled cabbage was at Whole Foods?
So I buy the one at Whole Foods because I found it at at one of the veg festivals that I went to, the Boston Veg Fest, and it was this local company, and I found it at Whole Foods, and it's like an Asian slaw. It's in the section when you've been around the whole store and you walk past the bakery, it's in that last section where the yerba mate and tofu and the kind of drinks, that last little bit of fridge before you get to the checkout.
In a tub.
It's in a glass jar. I think it's called chi or something like that. And it's it's like $9.99 for the jar, but I don't drink anymore. I don't buy ice cream. That's my treat now. It's and I'm sure you can make pickled cabbage yourself at home, but I love that. They put a little sesame in it. I mean, and wasabi, it's like a little kick to it. It's really good. Yeah, it's delicious. And they have different kinds as well, but that's my favorite. Oh, this looks really good to me as well. So tofu, soy has had some weird controversies over the last years. And I swear it was started by the dairy industry because soy is actually good for us, especially for women, because it's actually estrogen blocking, like the estrogen that leads to breast cancer and all those things. So soy, if it's organic and non-GMO, soy is actually very, very beneficial, especially for women. So I like edamame, but tofu, I'm kind of learning how to cook with tofu. I bake it in the air fryer. It takes all the moisture out, and you can season it. It's like chicken in the sense that it basically just absorbs any flavor you put on it. So you can marinate it in soy and chili and ginger and all sorts of different marinades.
But it's a processed food.
Well, but there's nothing added. True. It's a lightly processed, which is why it's kind of not, if you look at the forks and knives have this chart, and it has the foods that you should eat the most of, which is just fruit and veg and grain and legumes, and soy is in kind of, I mean, tofu is in like in the middle, because it is lightly processed. It's like pasta, like chickpea pasta. The only ingredients are chickpeas, or chickpea flour and water. So it's technically, it is lightly processed, but it doesn't have 28 different ingredients, you know. It's like a single ingredient processed food, so there's nothing bad in it. You know, it doesn't have bad additives. So yeah, tofu is just a great way to get nice plant protein, and like I said, it absorbs any flavor you want it to absorb. You could scramble tofu with turmeric, and it makes it look like scrambled egg. So you can have that for breakfast with mushrooms and spinach on toast. I've done that a few times. That's another good way to get tofu.
I've also taken it and squeeze out all the liquid.
Right.
And then break it up and use it sort of like a meat.
Yeah, oh,
ground meat.
definitely, yeah, like
And then add some salsa and
yeah,
veggies.
yeah. So tofu is one of those things you kind of learn how to, I was kind of confused by tofu when I first went plant-based, because it just seemed so bland. And you just buy it in this cube and it just doesn't look very inspiring. But when you break it up, you can actually do some interesting things with it. And there's something called silken tofu that you can use in desserts, like to make chocolate mousse and things like that. So it's very versatile.
But I wonder if the silken, does it have any preservatives, because that's not refrigerated.
Right, I just bought the little box of it the other day.
I need to go look at the label, but it's on my shelf.
Right. But again, you know, I might use it once in a blue moon to make a dessert. You know, so I'm not eating it every day. I haven't used the one I bought yet, but yeah, it must have something in it because it has the shelf life, you know. It's like in a little box, it's not refrigerated. But you know, this looks good to me. So it's on a bed of quinoa with chickpeas. I mean, this is like a very protein packed dish. If you're worried,
actually did this recipe.
did you? Oh, really? What's the marinade? I mean, it says balsamic glaze. Oh, rhubarb. Wow. Did you actually buy fresh rhubarb? Do you have it?
We have it in our yard.
Oh, no, I have a neighbor who has tons of rhubarb and she drops it on my doorstep. She says that no one else likes it. I love rhubarb. I love it. Like, I love it stewed and just thrown over some yogurt or something.
And this is one thing we did do on it.
Oh. Now, did you specifically look up rhubarb recipes, or did this just happen to
I think
pass?
this came out of Florida. We have
Yes.
the cook,
Oh, okay.
and it's in the cook.
Oh, wow, because I just love that tart flavor of the rhubarb. And you know, balsamic glaze and balsamic vinegars are your friend when you eat this way, because there's so many different flavors. Again, they can absorb, you know, I have a fig balsamic vinegar and a strawberry balsamic glaze, and rhubarb is amazing. I'm gonna look into that. So we have someone who's tried this, and it's all, actually, every recipe I've tried for Forks Over Knives has been really tasty.
Yeah.
They really know what they're doing. That is, I would say, if you're gonna go to one website, actually two, Forks Over Knives for recipes and nutritionfacts.org for information, for all the research. Oh, this looks so good as well. This looks like, I think this is the carrots, any summer grilled veggies, but you know, the lettuce wrap. And again, you know, we don't need to worry too much about, you know, the whole bad mouthing of carbs. That's really like the simple carbs, like white, you know, flours, and you know, of course, we're not eating like a junky kind of carbs, but nature's carbs, like whole foods, like fruit and vegetable, are packed with carbs, they're complex carbs, and then with all the fiber, you know, the way that nature intended. So if you are worried about carbs and you're cutting, or if you're gluten-free, you know, you can just use a lettuce wrap instead of a tortilla wrap or bread, because you're getting you know, all the phytonutrients and vitamins from the lettuce, and it's also lighter and just tastes good. And then it's just something really nice about having like a lettuce wrap and like the crunch of it. I mean, I personally love it. So this looks very versatile to me. Like you could put any veggies, grill up any veggies with a nice little sauce, maybe some tahini, that looks like some chickpeas as well, maybe some pine nuts. Yeah, pine nuts on the left there. So this looks like a good option as well. Maybe a little messy. Definitely not good picnic food, but at home, if you've got access to some kitchen roll and a sink to wash your hands, but this looks really tasty. Okay, so, you know, again, people think, oh, you know, eating plant-based is so complicated. What do I cook? What do I make? But we're already eating like these simple foods, like just corn on the cob and a baked potato. and sweet potatoes, and these can become like a meal on their own, you know, with a nice salad on the side, with some beans over the top. That is a complete, wonderful, nutritious meal. And sweet potatoes, which I happen to love, are even better for you than a white potato, but it's all good. Just don't put butter and sour cream on it. But yeah, you can put beans, salsa, hummus, all really good on top of a baked potato. Oh, so this is what I was talking about earlier. So taco night, this is at my house. Lots of lettuce and peppers and cucumbers. And I put some sweet potato in mine for some reason, where there's also edamame there, which is a bit of a cross-cultural thing going on, but my daughter loves edamame. Some beans, that's the black beans that I make, salsa, and some fake ground beef and hot sauce. So, you know, taco night is a great way to kind of keep everyone happy, because you can just make it the way you like. Oh, there's a lot of the sort of ethnic foods and Mexican foods. It's really easy to kind of eat Mexican, plant-based, Indian, Thai, you know, all sorts of Asian foods. Because, you know, a lot of Mexican food is kind of based on rice and beans, lots of nice spices, corn, cilantro. So it's really easy to get a very satisfying, full, you know, Mexican food experience just without the beef or the chicken. Honestly, I don't miss it for a second, because you've just got so many, all the flavor really comes from the spices and the herbs and the vegetables, I think. Don't miss the meat for a second. Okay, someone was here, the last time I did a talk, someone was asking about vegetarian and vegan food for kids. And there's a whole section on Forks Over Knives just for food for children. If anyone's got grandkids coming to visit, want to kind of get kids excited about vegetables and fruit. I mean, you know, I think a lot of kids, depending on the household they're growing up in, I mean, a lot of kids love watermelon and peaches and berries and all that stuff. I mean, it's, you know, it's just what you expose kids to. But in my experience, kids love fruit, and then the vegetables, you know, just make it fun, like it's cute little taco shells, and they can put their own stuff together. So anyway, this was for the person who was asking about food for their grandkids. But watermelon's usually a winner. Okay, so sandwiches. So this is not a bread-free way of eating. There are some breads that are great. Ezekiel bread is an easy one to find in most supermarkets. Sourdough is great. So when you're buying bread, just try and look at the ingredient label, and you're looking for the bread with the fewest ingredients. A lot of bread has sugar added. Ezekiel bread is the safest, I mean, it's the easiest one. It's very easily available. All the main supermarkets, it might be in the freezer section. Trader Joe's have it in the regular bread section. So this is the no tuna. So this is something that we made this week. It's chickpeas. Again, you can add pickle, you can leave out the pickle, you can leave out the onion, you can mix some hummus into it, you can make it, you know, any way you like. And that's another reason I love eating this way. You can just adapt it to the flavors you like. Throw in some lemon juice, you know, throw in some chili flakes. You can just keep adding flavors to make it tasty to you. You know I love citrus, I love pepper, I love chili, I love pickles, all those things. But if you don't like those things, you just adapt it to how you like it. And then this has got some sprouts in it. You can add avocado, you can add banana peppers, you know, you can add spicy hot peppers. But that to me looks like a very satisfying sandwich right there. So, you know, it might have some, you can add hummus. Hummus is great in sandwiches and wraps, and it gives it that nice kind of binding, the moist maker. So yeah, a salad wrap or a sandwich, that is always a good summer food option. Another great thing to eat over the summer is a bowl, because this is a great way to use leftovers. So what I tend to do is meal prep for the week. I'll make a big pot of rice, brown rice or farro or whatever your favorite grain or rice is. And I'll roast some vegetables for the week. And then, you know, you just having these ingredients in your fridge. So if you've like someone's roasted some corn, maybe left over from a barbecue, some tomatoes, some beans left over from taco night, and you can just create your bowl. So you have a little bit of rice, you have your grain, you have your legume, and then you have whatever salad you have left over in the fridge. You can bake some tofu, you can throw on some avocados, that looks like black sesame seeds. So every bowl you make is gonna be a little bit different. You know, you can use a recipe as a guideline, but then you can just adapt it. You know, it's not rigid. You can just throw in whatever you have in your fridge and leftovers. So a bowl is a great way to go in the summer. Have any of you been to Carver in Hingham in Derby Street? Love that place. So it's basically, it's a little bit like Chipotle, you know, there's kind of a, what's it called, like a window with lots of different containers, and you can just choose what you want in it. So you start your base. I go with the super greens, which is, you know, sort of kale and Brussels sprouts and different mixed greens. And then you can either have rice or black lentils or whatever they have that day. And then you have, you can throw on an animal protein if you want, or you can have falafel and grilled vegetables, and then all these toppings like this, you know, tomatoes, onions, scallions, cilantro, and then you pick a dressing. But you can basically do that at home. It's just a question of having these things in your fridge and just having a little bit of imagination and just looking through and saying, well, how can I make this more nutritious? What else can I throw on here? And you just gotta keep going till you have a beautiful bowl like this. Very, very easy to do. Not a lot of cooking skills required. Yes.
One thing that I've done with my kids over the years is something similar to that, but we make spring rolls with a rice paper wrapper and just shred all the vegetables, and we'll usually have shrimp with it, or you obviously don't have to, but to have all of the different things already shredded.
Yes.
And it worked out great for us when we had multiple after-school sports and activities, that everyone just create their own, but just to have everything prepped and ready, and then the kids really enjoyed rolling it in the rice wrap.
Right.
Or using also rice noodles.
Oh,
cold rice
yeah,
noodles with
yeah.
them Too.
That's another thing that I like to make. So kind of a crowd pleaser when I go to book club or whatever parties, I make these Vietnamese or the Vietnamese wraps, but you use a rice paper wrap. You can get them at all the supermarkets, and you just soak them for 10 seconds in some water. And just fill it with whatever you want. Again, it's very versatile. So you can throw all of that into a wrapper or lettuce wrap if you have a big enough lettuce leaf. And you just roll it up. You can put tofu in it or shrimp or whatever you like to eat. And then I make a peanut dipping sauce. Which is actually, that's the important part. I mean, it's a great way to get all the vegetables and all the nutrition, but I make a dipping sauce with, well, you can either use peanut butter or a powdered peanut butter powder, which has, you know, it's less fat content. But I mix it with soy sauce, date syrup, lime juice, some garlic, some ginger, chili flakes, and it makes this delicious peanut dipping sauce, which is it's just delicious. I've converted a few people that way. When one of my husband's colleagues says if you could put that sauce on everything, he would eat vegan every day. The sauce just makes everything taste good. It's so delicious. Another great thing to bring to a barbecue, or if you're entertaining at home, is a kind of an upcycled side. So instead of just rice or just quinoa or just couscous, you can mix, you know, vegetables and herbs in with it. So not only does it taste better, but it's just adding all these beautiful, colorful, varied, you know, nutritious vegetables and herbs and spices into your food. So you could go Asian, you can go Middle Eastern, and again, there's just thousands, Mexican with beans and jalapenos. I mean, there's just so many ways to make something like boring, like couscous or quinoa, taste amazing. And honestly, as soon as you start throwing in fresh mint, how many of you grow herbs? So mint is one of those ones that just kind of goes crazy. And I mean, you can throw mint into all of these, maybe not Mexican, but into a couscous salad or a quinoa salad, fresh parsley and basil and mint, and people love it. No, am I out of time? No, I have. So yeah, fresh herbs are really a game changer, because a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, I don't like eating, you know, potatoes and this is all really bland. But as soon as you start throwing spices and herbs at it, and lime juice, lemon juice, orange juice, whatever, there's so many ways to add flavor that make it even healthier, you know, instead of detracting, you know, you're just adding more and more goodness to it and it tastes great. So, yeah, look, I just typed in watermelon into the Forks Over Knives search box and it has 15 different, you know, melon recipes just off the bat. So this one, that looks like, does that look like onion?
Jicama.
Oh, jicama, is that what it says?
No,
You just know what it is. Okay, so I thought, wait a minute, I think, because it looks kind of pink here. Okay, jicama. But again, you know, fresh mint and watermelon go really well together. It's a really nice, and some lime juice, it's phenomenal. Yeah, so if you like melon, there's so many different ways you can make, you know, throw it in salads, you can, you know, make it into different kinds of desserts. So melon is a great one. And very refreshing, you know, if it's really hot, you know, melon is just a no-brainer. But then just fruit, you know, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but fruit is just a wonderful dessert, you know, a fruit platter to bring to a barbecue, or also just to have at home for kids to kind of pick at, you know, just want to encourage the kids to get into healthy eating habits as early as possible. I mean, berries, you know, they'll be a little bit more affordable as the summer goes on, but watermelon is pretty economical. I mean, I got a huge watermelon for $3.99 the other day. That's enough for easily a whole family for the whole weekend. Look at that, look how beautiful this fruit platter is. Who cuts their mangoes like that? That's not as easy as it looks, but it is doable. I have done it a few times. But something else I discovered recently was chocolate hummus. Have you tried chocolate hummus? Oh, so good. Great with strawberries, and you can make that at home. So I haven't made my own yet. I bought it, but I think what's the brand? Is it Joseph's or?
A couple of them.
A lot of the companies that make hummus have also started making chocolate hummus.
In the fall, I've seen an apple pie hummus.
Next is pecan pie.
Yeah, you can, I mean, hummus, again, like chickpeas are quite bland, so you can really turn them into whatever flavor direction you want. Peaches, one of my favorites. So fruit is always a good one to choose, but also sorbets. So you can make sorbet at home very easily. So the other day, I think it was the first warm day. So I did, when I first went plant-based, I would eat like oat milk ice cream. And don't look at the ingredients because it's full of sugar. I mean, do look at the ingredients because it's so bad for you. It's not as bad for you as dairy, but I can't, you know, con myself that it's actually really good for me. So the other day, instead of running to the store and getting oat milk ice cream, I went to my freezer and I have a Vitamix blender and just threw in berries, frozen berries and mango and pineapple, a cube of ginger, a little bit of almond milk. And I just, and it looked just like that. It was a bit more red because I had raspberries in it. And it was fantastic. And it was just fruit and a little bit of, you can throw in flaxseed. I'd already had my flaxseed for the day, but you can throw in flaxseed. You can throw in, there's this powder called amla powder. Has anyone heard of it? It's like very high in antioxidants. So there's things you can throw into your smoothies and sorbets, but this is kind of a this is a dairy-free alternative to ice cream. And then if you Google vegan summer desserts, you can also get into all of this. I'm not very good with baking because I'm kind of an easy cook. I only make things that are very easy. But if you like to bake, and some of them look, you know, no bake, but if you like to make desserts, there are thousands and thousands of options. If you want to make a vegan dessert, you can use the silken tofu, you know, dairy-free milks and all of that. So those all look pretty good to me. Not necessarily the healthiest or low calorie, but for a special occasion, or if you want to show off, those are really nice options. And then again, you know, I looked up, I can't remember what I put into the vegan desserts in Forks Over Knives, and there are thousands of amazing black bean recipes. So I have actually made brownies with black beans and with sweet potato or with avocado even. So there's a lot of ways to substitute egg and butter and those things in baking, vegan baking. You use a flaxseed egg and all these other sort of rich foods like avocado or sweet potato that kind of give it that moisture. And cocoa powder is completely plant-based, so you know, there's some vegan chocolate chips, but you know, nuts and all of those delicious things in plant-based desserts. And this was my favorite. So Dawn and I went to meet Dr. Greger. So have any of you been to Plant City in Rhode Island, in Providence? So I've got a flyer, I'm not flying it. So there's a place called Plant City in Providence, and it is the world's first plant-based food hall and marketplace. So it's basically this wonderful building down by the water in Providence, and they have a cafe and a little kind of lunch restaurant, and then they have two really nice restaurants upstairs, an Italian restaurant and a Mexican restaurant. Everything is completely plant-based. And they also do talks and cooking demonstrations in the basement, and they do author talks, and Dr. Greger, who's the author of How Not to Die and all those other books, came to do a talk a couple of weeks ago, and we set off early, and the talk was at 8:30, and we made it just in time for the talk, and then also he signed our books at the end. So this was very exciting for me because I have read How Not to Die several times now, and he's just one of my heroes. So this was like meeting a rock star for me. And I was very, very, very excited. So Plant City is a really fun place to visit. And also it hosts a lot of talks and these things called jumpstart programs by this group called Plant Docs. And the founder of Plant Docs actually talked, she did a talk for our Cape Cod plant-based group, which is called the Green Nosh group, and then there's a flyer over there about, we meet monthly. It's not like you don't have to, you know, officially join it. You can just come. We just do potlucks every month, or we do something like a field trip to, this was to Plant City to meet Dr. Sandy from Plant Docs, and she did a talk for us there. So if you're interested in joining or just coming to one of our little very informal meetings, you can follow us on Facebook. It's called Green Nosh, and it's kind of also the plant-based Cape Cod. It's the two groups that became one, so you can either look up Green Nosh Cape Cod or plant-based Cape Cod. Everything gets posted in both groups, and we meet, actually we're taking a break over the summer, but we'll meet again starting in September. And we do potlucks, and everything is whole food plant-based, and we usually have a speaker, or we do a little outing. We'll go and see a movie. We've hosted some movies at the Cape Cinema. And yeah, it's just an interesting group of people. Everyone's either plant-based or thinking of going plant-based. It's not super strict. Everyone's welcome. But you can learn a lot about the food and the science behind it, and just talk to like-minded people who are interested in health, promoting their health through what they put on the end of their forks. All right, so that is pretty much it for today. Does anyone have any questions?
Do you readily substitute canned beans for once you cook yourself?
I use canned beans
You do.
mostly, yeah, because I tend to kind of cook unless I do meal prep, you know, I always just have cans available. So a lot of them you have to soak overnight.
Right, and so you just drain and rinse them?
I just drain and rinse. Some people prefer to soak beans overnight. They find it helps with the digestion of beans. So,
And when you saute a vegetable, obviously it's gonna be a vegetable. There's nothing in that pan between the pan and the vegetable, you put the vegetable stock in then?
you
or-
can. So I usually start with onions and garlic. Everything I make, I usually have onions and garlic, and they kind of release a little moisture themselves. But if it seems too dry, you can, it also depends what kind of pan you're using, but you can just throw in a few spoons of vegetable stock.
Which is
That
quite a
fennel.
lot.
Mhm.
Put in a couple tablespoons of water.
Water, yeah, right, yeah, just try it with water. Yeah.
That fennel, by the way, is good in stock.
What is?
Fennel.
Oh.
The root part,
Oh, yeah,
you make stock.
yeah. Oh, yeah, fennel and stock. Yes, if you make your own. I have made my own veggie stock a few times. Just leftover scraps. You just boil it up and throw in some bay leaf and some dried herbs and whatnot.
Whatever you got.
Yeah. Yes.
What's the name of that protein powder that you said you sometimes add when you're making that smoothie?
I don't use protein powder, I throw in flax. Oh, amla powder, amla. AMLA, it's the powder from some kind of gooseberry that is exceptionally high in antioxidants. And you can order it online. I forget where else, you can probably get it at Whole Foods, but yeah, that's a very strong antioxidant.
Is that protein powder either? So I was gonna-
Yeah, no, I don't use protein powder. So when possible, it's always best to get food in its whole form. So that's just a powdered form of it. Flaxseed is really important to have every day because it contains these things called lignans that are cancer fighting. So Dr. Greger has something called his daily dozen. If you read, you'll hear about these. So he recommends daily to consume beans. So whether that's hummus like chickpeas or some kind of legume, fruits, greens and cruciferous get their own separate categories. So cruciferous is anything like broccoli, kale, arugula is actually in the cruciferous family. So just lots of greens and cruciferous. You cannot get too many. Flaxseed, grains, so some kind of whole wheat, whether it's a bread or a rice or quinoa or whatever. Berries get their own separate mention because berries are so high in antioxidants. And then just some other vegetable like carrot or beet or whatever. Nuts, but in moderation, small amounts, nuts and seeds, spices. Turmeric is a big one because of its anti-inflammatory properties. And then, hydration. So, tea, green tea is excellent. Herbal tea, water. He actually doesn't mind. He actually thinks coffee is beneficial, like 2 to 3 cups a day. And I specifically asked him about that. Like, is there any new research? Coffee is fine. It's actually good. And exercise. So like keep moving. So those are his 12. And he has an app where you can kind of check these off every day. If that helps keep you accountable, just remind you, oh, you haven't had your cruciferous vegetables today. You haven't had your flaxseed today. It's just a cute little free app you can use.
How do you use flaxseed daily? What do you?
If you do smoothies, you can put them in a smoothie. I put them on. So my favorite breakfast is like an Ezekiel toast with, I put very thin almond butter.
Yeah.
And then I put my flaxseed on, and then I put my cranberry compote.
Is it the flaxseed meal or?
Yes, so
Okay.
ground flaxseed. So yeah, and he makes this very clear is that flaxseed whole, it's got such a hard shell around it. It's hard for the body to break it down. So you can either, blend it or crunch it up yourself. Well, I actually asked him about that as well because I'm lazy and I just buy the flaxseed meal. He said it's absolutely
But you
fine.
can sprinkle, because I'll do.
You can sprinkle it on a salad.
Okay.
You can throw it in a stew. You can throw it in with your beans. You can throw it in with anything. Throw it in a smoothie. You can put it on granola. I mix it in. I make my own granola. It takes 2 seconds, and I just mix it in with the granola and put it in the oven for a bit. So you can sprinkle it on anything, basically.
My main thing was if it was whole versus the.
Yes. So
ground,
you should have
okay.
ground, but you don't have to grind it freshly every time you
Okay.
use it. There's no benefit to freshly ground flax, just any flax. I think a teaspoon a day is enough.
Yep.
Teaspoon to a tablespoon a day. That's really a big one with him. Flaxseed and turmeric, like the two of the magic special. Although he doesn't really talk about like specific foods you should eat. Again, it's all about the variety and getting as much variety as possible. But he does pick out those two, and turmeric and flax. It's gonna be extra good.
I was wondering if anyone knew anything about matcha tea.
Ooh, yeah. So matcha is even better for you than like a normal, like brewed green tea because it's actually the ground up leaves. Tea leaf powder, so it's extremely high in antioxidants and all sorts of.
So if you mix it, it foams, it becomes, you actually should make it with a whisk.
Okay.
And in Asia, I believe they make it with like a whisk that looks like a little broom.
And water with the.
And water,
You
and
make it into kind of a little paste.
yeah, and it becomes kind of almost like a foamier, it's not a watery drink. You know what I'm saying?
And then what do you do with it after you?
Well,
You
you
drink
can
it.
you can drink it as a latte with like an oat milk or an almond milk. That's how it's commonly, sort of served here. I don't know how they drink it.
We're not.
Oh, Dawn is an expert.
Trader Joe's sells some little packets of the matcha
You can actually, so if you mix like one little packet, I think it's a tablespoon of boiling water. And like you said, with a whisk, like you can whisk it and it kind of makes a paste, and then what I do is I, either heat up or froth like some oatmeal. And I make a latte, so pour in like 8 ounces of, coffee or just heated up, oat milk and then mix it into that, just that little bit of matcha, and it makes a latte. You don't have to use 8 ounces, you can use a little bit less if you like it a bit stronger, but.
It's very potent, it's very strong, it's a little bitter. And it does have caffeine, because it's tea leaf, so I can't drink it in the afternoon, I'll be awake at night.
Oh,
But, as the first thing in the morning, I'm trying to drink matcha from time to time, it's not really my favorite thing, but I'm trying to learn to like it because it is so beneficial.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions about protein or dairy?
I have a good resource, it's actually a Barnstable High School graduate's wife has a website called lastingredient.com,
Oh,
which has been fantastic, but she has a quinoa pizza crust that she makes.
oh,
And she just soaks the quinoa overnight, drains it, in the processor, it's a little baking powder and different herbs, and so it becomes really tasty.
ooh.
That she bakes in a pan, I don't know, 15 minutes, you put whatever vegetables on it, and you put it back in. It's actually quite filling.
Wow. Oh, quinoa's very filling.
And my husband likes it, which
Oh.
is shocking, but,
Lastingredient.com.
yeah,
Okay,
but
I'll
it
check that.
doesn't have any oil in
Okay.
the crust, and it's just the quinoa and the
Oh.
herbs.
Which is also good for gluten-free people.
Right.
Mm.
So
Oh,
that's
I
been,
will try it.
that's been my pizza lately.
Excellent. Nice guilt-free pizza. Pizza Bob Bone on Main Street has a good gluten-free crust. And they have a vegan cheese, but they also do, you can get a roasted vegetable pizza, and so there are options out. Eating out is a little bit of an adjustment, but yes, again, you don't have to be 100% compliant all the time. You can just go for something with lots of vegetables in it, and that's always better than.
We just went over to North Sister.
Oh, yeah,
Cafe,
yeah.
which is-
Yeah.
So they were very good.
Yeah, what did you have?
They called it as a yummy bowl.
Oh,
Had,
yeah.
black beans and rice and
Yeah.
avocado.
Yeah, I feel like, because people always say, oh, which vegan restaurant you go? I don't actually go to vegan restaurant unless I'm going to Plant City, but I find places that have, good healthy options, like a Thai place, I'll get steamed tofu instead of fried. If you go to the Bangkok, I think it's the Bangkok kitchen across from Staples, they make it to order, so I say no fish sauce, steamed rather than fried. You can get brown rice there, so there's a lot of ways to kind of find some healthier options, at least when you're dining out as well. But the nice thing about summer is that we're cooking at home a lot, we're throwing things on the barbecue, lots of corn and potatoes and vegetables on the barbecue, and then you can really have fun with salads and salsas and dips.
I don't know if anybody here has headaches, I just add this because it's healthy eating. My son is 30 now, he's been plagued with migraines since he was like 5, and I've done the whole neurologist, the medicines, and we're not a big fan of medicine. So he finally read somewhere, and he does this shot every single morning that he's been doing, it's ginger, turmeric, we've been talking about, and whatever Italian orange juice or lime juice, and he makes it in a shot, it's tough to get down.
Yeah.
Because he's given it to me a few times, but his migraine has stopped.
Wow. And he hasn't changed anything else in his diet?
Oh, yeah, he's cleaned up his diet a little bit and eliminated alcohol, things
Okay.
that are triggers and caffeine.
Okay.
But even when he was still doing the alcohol and all the other stuff, that stopped him almost completely. And then when he did a much cleaner eating. He's been, and he was late with this as a child, and then broke my heart in my feet. One day he came home, his headache was so bad, I have this island. He was banging his head on the island. I said, Timothy, what are you doing? He said, I'd rather have my head hurt than, so I can think of something else other than his headache.
It is amazing how powerful, you realize, and that's why, I say, well, you don't have to do it overnight, but if you do start eating better and you feel better, then you want to kind of keep doing it, and like you say, like, I'm never hungry, I eat loads of food and a bit too much, but ginger and turmeric and all those anti-inflammatory, and really it's the meat and the animal products and the dairy that are causing the inflammation.
Absolutely.
And what we call oxidative stress, so When you start eating more plants and more fiber and cut out the cholesterol and cut out the saturated fat, your body just responds, you know, and you'll just feel better, you'll sleep better, you'll live better, you know, just, you know, it's very powerful, you
I
know.
was told about the frozen ginger that they have now.
Oh,
right?
yes, the little cubes,
That's
yes.
just,
Yes.
I drink ginger and hot water.
Yeah.
That's migraine.
Does he do that little shot as a preventative or at the onset of a migraine?
He does it, now he does it as a preventative, he does it every day, but
Has he tried at the onset, like,
he has, yeah, I mean, that's how it all started. I read about it and he read about it and I said, it's gonna get, but what do we have to do? He said,
Right,
let's just try this.
right.
And he noticed they were getting a little bit better, and now he just does this every morning, it's a ritual. And I know it was not, so I keep a powder for him, just in case I don't have the fresh ginger and turmeric, but, now they froze it.
Alyssa had a great.
Yes, she just made,
Okay.
yes.
I didn't see a recipe.
Orange one, yeah. Well, they have the little turmeric shots at Trader Joe's, and sometimes I'll just grab one and down it, you know, on my way back to the car, but really you can just use turmeric in cooking and smoothies and desserts. And
But it's like.
I mean, it's been used for thousands of years, you know, in Asia as an anti-inflammatory, it's powerful.
Yeah.
But you should always add a little bit of black pepper. Somehow that activates, it makes it ahead of time it's more bioavailable or something, so always have a black pepper. Some weird scientific reason behind it, but it just the combination of black pepper and turmeric helps to activate the turmeric.
I just wanted to add one thing too. I'm also a Crohn's patient, so I've struggled obviously with gut stuff. And knock on wood, but I'm now 5 years without an incident, basically because I gave up all alcohol, I gave up all meats except, I eat all seafood. And but here's the key, I gave up fried and I gave up spicy foods, I gave up a lot of things. But we're all individuals, and it took me a while to figure out that some foods that are considered very healthy are really bad for me. I cannot eat peppers of any kind, even a bell pepper, I will be tasting it 2 weeks later.
Wow.
It just is bad. So I always say to people, walk your own walk.
Right.
And you have to figure it out. What might work for you might not work for the next person. And also our bodies are always changing. And I watched this with my dad and in his low 80s, he could not eat a cucumber for any reason. And he loved them. He'd eaten them for years. And I really remember that as a life lesson that our bodies change and what works for a while may not work. And you figured out a great piece to the puzzle. I am very thankful that I have too. But and the other part is because I struggle with eczema, I actually do have oil in my diet because it does affect my skin positively. But it took me a while to learn that, and it has to be good oil. Don't just have anything, but again, it takes time to figure out what's gonna work for you, right?
Oh, yeah, no, people definitely have food sensitivities and allergies and all the rest of it. And I'm, again, like knock on wood, I have so far yet to find a food that I'm allergic to. I can eat everything.
Yeah.
But obviously there's some things you like better, you know, but I have to say that eating this way, I've started eating things that, you know, my mom used to tell me to eat, or, you know, just more variety of fruit, vegetables. I used to be kind of a little remiss about. I'm now just eating them all. It's just become a habit just to reach for those things, you know, adding the flax and, you know, eating berries every day, you know, things like that. So, you know, yeah, but yeah, you find out, and again, it's what you like and what agrees with you, and but just, you know, the more fiber you can eat, the better, really, and greens, cruciferous vegetables. It's all good. Right, thank you for coming.